如果你在聆听时不需要频繁暂停就能理解大意，那么你的英语积累在日常表达中是完全够用的。像学母语一样学英语，我们开始吧。
Sometimes, a tiny country with not much to its name at the start can grow up to be very strong, successful, and special. When this happens, there are always important reasons and often a very special kind of leader showing the way. This is the story of such a place, a small island called Singapore, and it is the story of a man named Lee Kuan Yew, who believed deeply in hard work, who had a very big dream and a will like strong steel. This is how he, with his team and his people, faced big challenges and showed the world those special reasons, turning their little island into a shining star for everyone to see. Lee Kuan Yew was born in Singapore many years ago in 1923. Singapore was then a busy little port ruled by people from far-off England. His family was Chinese, but they had lived in Singapore for a long time. Even before his grandfather was born, Lee was a bright boy. He went to good English schools in Singapore, like Raffles Institution and Raffles College. He always studied very hard and was often the best student in his class. He learned that knowledge and hard work were keys to getting ahead. When Lee Kuan Yew was a young man, World War II reached Singapore. Soldiers from Japan came and took over the city. For 3.5 years, life was very hard and scary. Lee saw the British rulers who used to be so strong surrender to the Japanese. He saw how cruel the Japanese soldiers could be. He had to hide and be very careful to stay alive. He learned Japanese to survive and even worked a small job for the Japanese administration. This difficult time changed him. It made him feel that Singapore and its people had to learn to be strong themselves, to stand on their own feet. This idea grew very strong in his heart. After the war ended, Lee Kuan Yew did so well in his studies that he earned a chance to go to England. He studied law at a famous university called Cambridge. He worked even harder there and was a top student. In England, he saw how another country worked, how its government and its people lived. He also met many other young students from Singapore and nearby lands. They would talk for hours about their homes and about wanting freedom from British rule. Lee Kuan Yew's early ideas about freedom and self-rule grew stronger there. It was also in England that he grew very close to a smart and kind young woman from Singapore named Geok Chu. She was also studying law at Cambridge and was even a better student than him. They fell in love and got married in England before they came home. Geok Chu would be Lee Kuan Yew's wise helper and loving partner for his whole life. When Lee Kuan Yew and Geok Chu came back to Singapore in 1950, he began work as a lawyer. He quickly became known for helping ordinary workers and their unions when they faced troubles. He and his close friends, other smart young people who also wanted a better future for Singapore, started to talk about making their own political party. They wanted Singapore to rule itself, to be free from British control. In 1954, they formed a new political party called the People's Action Party. Lee Kuan Yew became its leader. At first, he even worked with some people who had very different ideas, because he knew that to get freedom, they all had to work together against the British. Lee Kuan Yew was a powerful speaker. He learned to speak Malay and Hokkien, a Chinese language many people in Singapore spoke, so he could talk directly to everyone. He and his party worked very hard, telling people about their ideas for a new Singapore, a Singapore with fair laws, good jobs for everyone, and where people from all different backgrounds, like Chinese people, Malay people, Indian people, and Eurasian people, would be treated well and live together in peace. He would tell people the truth about the challenges ahead, even when it was hard to hear. He believed it was important to be frank so everyone could work together to solve problems. He trusted that if people understood the real situation, they would support the hard work needed for good changes. In 1959, Singapore made a big step. It became a self-governing state. The British still had some power, but Singapore could now choose its own leaders for most things. Lee Kuan Yew's party won the election by a very big amount, and so Lee Kuan Yew, at only 35 years old, became the first Prime Minister of Singapore. He felt very proud, but he also knew the hardest work was just beginning. His personality was already showing. He was very focused, very determined, and he did not like to lose. Lee Kuan Yew always thought about the long future for Singapore. He believed that Singapore, being so small, needed to join with its bigger neighbor, Malaya, to survive and grow. He thought that together, as one country called Malaysia, they would be stronger and safer. He worked very hard for this idea. In 1963, Singapore did join Malaysia. At first, Lee felt hopeful. He thought this was the best path. But being part of Malaysia turned out to be very, very difficult. The leaders in Malaya had very different ideas from Lee Kuan Yew about how the country should be run. There were big arguments about fairness for all races, about money, and about power. Lee Kuan Yew fought hard for his belief that all people in Malaysia should be treated equally, no matter what their race was, Malay, Chinese, or Indian. But the leaders in Malaysia believed that Malay people should come first. Things got so bad that there were even fights, riots in the streets of Singapore between different groups of people. It was a very tense, unhappy, and dangerous time. Lee Kuan Yew felt a lot of stress and disappointment. He saw his dream of a big, united country starting to fall apart. After only 2 years, in 1965, the leaders of Malaysia decided they did not want Singapore to be part of their country anymore. They asked Singapore to leave. This was a terrible shock for Lee Kuan Yew. He had believed so much in the merger. On the day Singapore had to become its own separate, independent country, Lee Kuan Yew went on television to tell the people his heart was broken. He was so sad and so worried about his little country's future, all alone now, that tears came to his eyes and ran down his face as he spoke. He knew Singapore now faced a huge, almost impossible challenge. This sad moment changed him. He knew he had to be even tougher, even more determined, if Singapore was to survive. Independent Singapore was like a tiny new boat suddenly pushed into a big stormy sea. It had almost nothing. No army, few jobs, not enough good houses. Many people around the world looked at Singapore and thought, this little place will never make it. It will sink. But Lee Kuan Yew did not let himself or his people give up. He told them, his voice strong again, we will not sink. We will work hard, be smart, and build our own future. He was a very strong and often very stern leader. He asked everyone to work very hard with him and his team. He believed in discipline, doing things the right way, even when it was tough. His government made big plans. They built an army to keep Singapore safe. They invited companies from all over the world to build factories, promising a safe place with hardworking people and no cheating by officials. People needed jobs, and Lee knew that good jobs would help families and make the country strong. They built many new, clean apartment buildings so families could have good homes. Lee Kuan Yew knew that if people had a good home and a good job, they would feel a part of Singapore. Education was very important to Lee. He made sure all children went to good schools. They learned English very well. Lee Kuan Yew knew that if Singaporeans could speak English, their country could connect easily with the rest of the world. They could learn new things from everywhere, and do business with everyone. He believed that if Singapore could offer important things to the world, things the world needed, then other countries would see Singapore as useful and important. This, he thought, would help keep tiny Singapore safe and secure in a big, sometimes dangerous world. But they also learned their own mother tongues, Chinese, Malay, or Tamil, so they would not forget their own culture and family ways. He believed smart, well-educated people were Singapore's greatest resource. He also wanted Singapore to be a very clean and green city, a garden city. To make all these big changes happen so quickly, Lee Kuan Yew and his government sometimes made very strict rules. They believed that for a small new country with so many problems to solve, everyone needed to be disciplined and work together for the good of the nation. Sometimes these rules meant people couldn't say or write everything they wanted. Some people felt these rules were too strict. But Lee Kuan Yew always argued that order, stability, and making life better for all his people had to come first. He was a very pragmatic leader. He did what he believed was necessary and best for Singapore in the long run. For 31 years, Lee Kuan Yew was the Prime Minister. He was often very serious, very focused, and demanded a lot from himself and from others. He worked incredibly long hours. His mind was always thinking about Singapore. During these years, Singapore changed in amazing ways. From a poor little island, it became a rich, modern, and successful country. It was clean, safe, and people from all over the world came to do business and to see the Singapore miracle. Lee Kuan Yew became known as a tough but a very effective leader. In 1990, Lee Kuan Yew stepped down as Prime Minister, but he did not stop working for Singapore. He became a senior minister, then a minister mentor, using his wisdom and experience to help the new leaders. He was respected by leaders everywhere. He wrote books about his life and his ideas. His wife, Gyok Chu, his best friend and clever helper, was always by his side. When she became very sick and passed away, Lee Kuan Yew was very sad. Lee Kuan Yew himself grew old. He passed away in 2015. The people of Singapore felt they had lost the father of their country. Lee Kuan Yew's life was the story of Singapore. He was a leader with a strong vision who worked tirelessly and sometimes made very tough and even unpopular choices because he believed it was the only way to make his small island nation survive and succeed. He, along with his team and the people of Singapore, turned a little red dot on the world map into a shining star. And that is a powerful legacy to remember.
作为一个母语非英语的人，能把故事听完，你的进步太大了。感谢你收看这个节目，如果你觉得这个节目对你有帮助，请给我一个点赞或者留下评论，这对我很重要。这里是像学母语一样学英语频道，我们下个视频见。